If you still think Jesus came to start Christianity, they got you. If you think the Gospels are all in the Bible, they got you twice. The truth? Jesus taught a hidden path, buried, banned, and burned by empire. He didn't say, worship me. He said, become what I am. And the Gnostic Gospels, the forbidden scriptures, reveal exactly what that meant. You weren't supposed to find this video, but if you did, that means you're finally ready. Because once you hear these 10 hidden teachings, you won't see Jesus the same ever again. And maybe you won't see yourself the same either. If everything you were told about Jesus was reversed, would you have the courage to look again? Because what if the Jesus of religion was not the Jesus of truth? What if the church crowned him king to hide the fact he came to awaken kings? We were told he came to save us, but what if he came to remind us, to say, you are not fallen, you are not broken, you've just forgotten. You've forgotten the light you were made from, the kingdom you carry, the fire that once burned in your soul. And this was the real gospel, the one they buried beneath gold, guilt, and fear. Not a gospel of sin and shame, but of divine memory. When Jesus said, I and the Father are one, he wasn't claiming cosmic superiority. He was handing you a mirror. These things I do, you will do also, and greater. But ask yourself, when was the last time a church reminded you of that? They couldn't, because if you knew what you truly are, you'd stop kneeling, you'd start rising. And this is the first forbidden teaching. Jesus didn't come to be worshipped. He came to awaken what religion tried to put to sleep. He didn't want disciples who bowed. He wanted mirrors that remembered. Because here's the sacred riddle. He wasn't just pointing to God. He was revealing what God looks like inside a human. And if you've ever wondered why his message was so dangerous, it's because it shattered the middlemen. No more priests, no more rituals, no more gates between you and the divine. Only this. Go within. Still the mind. And remember. But power always fears the awakened. So Rome took the key and forged a lock. They took the map and sold a maze. They took the truth and turned it into a throne, and told you that God was out there, distant, angry, watching. But Jesus said something scandalous. The kingdom of God is within you. Do you see it? He didn't come to start a religion. He came to end the illusion of separation. So if he didn't come for worship, but for remembrance, then who are you really? And if the same divine breath that lived in him is still breathing through you, why do you feel so far away from it? Could it be that they buried the truth not in a tomb, but inside you? This is just the beginning, because in chapter 2 we go deeper into the teaching they feared the most, that heaven was never a destination. It was a frequency, a consciousness, a code, and when you learn how to enter it from within, you'll realize you were never locked out. You were the gate all along. Let's unlock it. They said you go to heaven after you die, but what if the greatest lie was that heaven was somewhere else? What if you didn't go to heaven? What if you become it? Because Jesus never said, the kingdom of heaven will appear when you die. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. This wasn't metaphor. It was mechanics. It was the code behind reality. Heaven isn't later, it's now. Not a faraway cloud kingdom, but a dimension hidden in your very breath. Heaven is a state of alignment, a remembrance of origin, a frequency of divine union pulsing within the soul. And the door was never in the sky. It's beneath your ribs. It was in your spine, through your breath, in your silence, in the still space between thoughts. This is the work, to tune the instrument of the self until it resonates with the home frequency you never truly left. But this terrified the empire, because if you realized heaven wasn't a reward, but a revelation, if you knew you could enter at any time without permission, priest, or payment, you'd never again submit to someone else's keys, and you'd stop begging for paradise and start radiating it. Heaven was never the prize. It was the power, a field of luminous intelligence, a vibration your soul already knows, a kingdom whose gate opens the moment you remember who you are. But they rewrote the story. They said heaven was distant, that you must earn it, that you are too dirty, too unworthy, too human to hold it. So they built cathedrals outside, to make you forget the cathedral within. But here's the second forbidden teaching. Heaven is not where you go. Heaven is what awakens when you stop searching. It's not a reward for the good. It's a mirror for the awake. It begins the moment the war in you ends, the moment you stop believing the lie, that you are separate from God. And this is why Jesus spoke in parables, because heaven couldn't be explained, only experienced. It's the pearl of great price, the treasure hidden in the field, the feast prepared but ignored by the world. So let me ask you, have you ever touched it? In stillness, in beauty, in tears that made no sense? Didn't something in you know that you had never left, that the garden was still there, that all this time you had been knocking on your own door? Heaven is not later, it's now, it's here. It's what you return to when you leave the noise behind. So let them keep selling the sky. You came to bring heaven here, but if heaven is already within you, what's keeping you locked out? If you still carry guilt from a story written before you were born, then they succeeded, because the oldest lie ever told was that you are broken. But what if sin was never a stain, but a forgetting? What if the soul wasn't damned? It was just doused in amnesia, and Jesus didn't come to fix you. He came to remind you. You were never born fallen. You were born radiant, and then taught to look away from your own light. You were taught to bow before altars, but never to light the one inside your ribcage. Because here's what they'll never say in a sermon. Sin is not the truth of who you are. It's the bruise left by forgetting who you were. They told you the fall began with Eve, but what if it wasn't a fall? It was the first act of remembering. What if the serpent wasn't evil, but a symbol of awakening? What if Eve didn't commit the first sin, but opened the first eye? Because the fruit wasn't cursed, it was consciousness, and consciousness has always threatened control. Pause. Close your eyes, not to repent, but to remember. Do you feel it? That flicker behind your ribs? That is not shame, that is returning. What if the shadows you feared were simply the light you haven't turned toward? What if this entire time you weren't here to be saved, but to remember why you came? Because somewhere in your being, you've carried echoes, memories you can't explain, longings that don't belong to this lifetime. And the moment you ask why, you begin to remember where you've been. But if you've lived before, where have you been? And more importantly, why did you return now? Here's a truth the church edited out with surgical precision. Jesus knew you've lived before. He spoke of Elijah returning. He asked, "Who do you say I am?" Not because he needed to know, but because you once did. The early Gnostics knew. The desert mystics whispered it. The soul doesn't visit Earth just once. It circles, it learns, it remembers. They turned the gospel into a single life fear trap. But Jesus was a mystic of the soul's long spiral. He taught that life is a school, and the body is a robe you change. So why hide it? Because a soul who knows it has lived before, and will live again, cannot be threatened by a single death, and a soul that cannot be threatened cannot be controlled. Reincarnation wasn't heresy to early Christians. It was normal, and the journey didn't begin at birth, nor does it end at death. It continues until the light within is fully remembered. You are not one lifetime old. You are a library wearing skin, and your presence here right now is no accident. You're remembering because it's time. You didn't click this by chance. You came here with timelines behind you and something to reclaim. But if your soul chose this moment, what is it you came to reclaim? And if Mary remembered it too, why was her gospel buried? Now let's tear down another pillar. If Peter was the rock of the church, Mary was the living water of truth. She wasn't a prostitute. She was the initiated, the one who understood Jesus, not just externally, but internally. And that terrified the early leaders, because her gospel, the gospel of Mary, didn't teach obedience. It taught Gnosis, inner knowing, direct revelation, no middleman required. She called him the one who lives. He called her the woman who knows. She wasn't just a woman. She was the keeper of the lost thread, the one who carried the serpent's knowing, and the womb of the first memory. But power structures couldn't allow the sacred feminine to speak with equal light, so they buried her under lies, but not deeply enough, because now her voice is rising again, not from pulpits, but from within you. And if you felt a call to divine wisdom that transcends religion, that doesn't demand belief, but invites remembrance, it might be her echo, stirring, awakening, through your bones. This is more than a checkpoint. It's a veil. And if you've crossed it, like this video to light the way for the others still wandering. Comment, "She is rising," not for us, but to activate the echo in the field. Subscribe not for more content, but as a vow that you will no longer forget. You are not just curious, you are called. Now let's keep going, because what comes next changes everything. But if Mary remembered who she was, why do you still feel so far from it? Maybe because something ancient has been hiding it from you, and it's not a devil, it's something far more subtle and far more dangerous. What if Earth was not the center, but the reflection? Plato knew it, mystics knew it, Jesus lived it. "This world is not my kingdom," he said, not because he rejected it, but because he remembered beyond it. This body, a robe, this world, a stage, but you are not of this world, you entered it, like light entering a mirror, and everything you see, a shadow of something higher, purer, truer, that ache you've always carried. It's not depression, it's homesickness. You've always felt this world didn't quite fit. That's not failure, it's memory leaking through. And the more you remember, the more you rise. Because the truth is, this realm was never meant to complete you. It was designed to awaken you. The pain, the beauty, the loss, each one a breadcrumb, each one a whisper. You came from light, and you will return as fire. But only if you stop mistaking the mirror for the source, because you were never sent here to belong. You were sent here to remember. They gave you a cartoon villain, red skin, horns, pitchfork. But what if the real enemy wasn't a creature at all? What if the true darkness was amnesia, not possession, but disconnection? Because once you forget where you came from, you'll believe anything about where you're going. They didn't need to trap your body. They only needed to cloud your memory. You don't need an exorcism. You need remembrance. Because the real fall of man wasn't disobedience. It was forgetting. Forgetting that you were light, encoded with stars, breathed into by the infinite, and every distraction, every lie, addiction, division, is designed to keep you asleep. They built temples of stone, but Jesus pointed to the temple of flesh. They said, "Confess here." He said, "The kingdom is within you." You were told to look up, when the real doorway was inside your ribs. Gnosis means direct knowing. It's the difference between reading the word water and feeling the first drops of rain on your skin. Not belief, not doctrine, raw, undeniable experience. 3 things were stolen from you: direct knowing, inner fire, and sovereign light. But now, each one returns. You don't need a sermon, you need remembrance. And the ladder to heaven? It's not made of rungs, it's made of revelation. Each one remembered takes you closer. So ask yourself, not do I believe, but do I remember? There's a reason this path is hidden. Because real truth isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous to the lie. Jesus was not crucified for being kind. He was crucified because he awakened people. And when you awaken, you will be misunderstood, mocked, even rejected. But hear this, that pain is proof, that friction is flame, that resistance means you're rising. You are not here to be liked. You are here to light the way. And when they try to dim you, shine brighter, because the Christ within you does not bow. It rises. This is the teaching they feared most, the one they buried beneath doctrine, fear, and fire. Not because it was blasphemy, but because it was too powerful. You were told God was above you, outside you, separate from you, watching from a throne. But the mystics knew, the Gnostics remembered, and Jesus whispered it with every breath. God is not a being. God is being itself, the breath in your lungs, the fire in your spine, the stillness behind your eyes. That is not just you, that is Source, waking in form. You are not the image of God, you are the expression, the echo, the current, the flame, the I am clothed in skin. The lie was separation, the truth is union, and when you stop seeking the divine in temples and heavens, you begin to feel it, pulsing behind your ribs. You were never meant to worship God, you were meant to embody God, not in arrogance, but in reverence, not to rule the world, but to heal it, because when you awaken the divine inside, You start seeing it in everyone else, and that is the beginning of heaven on earth. So let me ask you, if Jesus became the Christ, and the Christ lives in you, what are you waiting for? You are not a seeker anymore. You are a returner. You are not outside the kingdom. You are what returns it. This is not the end. This is your rising. These weren't just teachings. They were fragments of the map hidden inside you. The kingdom was never in the sky. It was buried in your breath. You were never a sinner. Only a star, dimmed by forgetting. You don't need a book to find the light. You are the light. You've walked this path before, felt the call, heard the whisper, died in silence, and rose again now in remembrance. Mary Magdalene knew. Jesus knew. The real battle was never with evil. It was with amnesia. This world? Just the shadow of your origin. You? A messenger of the real. The Christ is not an idol. It is a memory code awakening in your DNA, not through belief, but through knowing. Not through obedience, but through flame. And yes, this path will cost you. But only what was never you to begin with. You are not waiting for revelation. You are the revelation. You are not outside the kingdom. You are what returns it to the earth. This is your turning. This is your rising, and now, you remember. The question is no longer, who was he? The question is, who are you becoming? If something ancient stirred in you, don't let it go back to sleep. This video found you for a reason. Now let it find the others, like this video, not for vanity, but as a signal fire, for the forgotten ones still wandering in the dark. Comment below, I remember. Let the others see they are not alone. Subscribe, not to us, but to the current reawakening in your soul. Because this is not a channel. It is a call to the inner church, the one never built with bricks, but with knowing, with light, with you. The path doesn't end here, it begins now. And when you're ready, the next revelation will find you. Until then, walk in light. And don't forget who you are. You are the revelation. You are the return. You remember.